Second time could be a charm. Well, it was the first time, sort of. Frank Caprio in the house tonight. Yeah, if you take out his gubernatorial run last time around, he was a very successful state treasurer, and now he would like to be a very successful state treasurer again. Frank Caprio is here tonight, and I'm looking forward to speaking with him about this renewed commitment to counting the beans. Now, last night you saw the show with Joe the Barber. You saw it, right? You weren't watching a silly little thing called a baseball game, were you? Well, the reason why we weren't like contemporary last night was because we thought we'd have a post-game show on myRITV that would have preempted a part of us, so we figured a half of Joe the Barber is better than no. Anyway, you got a full Joe the Barber. We got some reaction to it, and we'll play that for you in your state of mind. Columbus Day, we were just off, so it's nice to be back in the saddle and talking about what's happening today. So why don't we do that and talk about what's happening today? It looks like we have a last-minute deal, and I'll be very happy not to be putting government shutdowns and debt ceiling discussions on the top of our list. Hopefully tomorrow night we won't have to do that. They're getting closer to an Exeter recall. It's a very nutty deal. We talked about that on Friday night, and I'll remind you of some of the nuances of that situation. Well, it looks like they're going to tear down the old school. And this villain cost a lot more than just lives, even though that's the most important thing. We'll talk to you about the numbers. What else do we have for you this evening? Well, have you heard about the story that happened over the weekend with the food stamp cards, the EBT cards, and the human condition? It's enough to make you think that the future is not that bright. But we'll smile and think about the future. A 2-1 lead for the Sox. Nothing like a pitcher's duel. All right, let's get into it. Last time we checked with our government types in Washington, they were right close, and right now, as we speak, they should be making votes in the Senate and in the House to create a deal to forego the debt ceiling foreclosure and to reopen the government. Jay Carney, spokesperson for the president, had this to say when he was asked about how this all jives with the president's position all along.
What the president made clear was his position is that he would not allow a situation to develop where he paid ransom to any party in Congress that was trying to extract unilateral political concessions in return for Congress fulfilling its fundamental responsibilities.
Well, in a way, that's accurate. I mean, the president held firm, and it got to the point where the general public, our reaction, was so strong against a debt ceiling foreclosure that even the conservative Republicans have allowed things to kind of happen around them. Senator Ted Cruz did not stop what happened, or what's happening as we speak, and the senator promised not to. In other words, no filibusters, no procedural stoppages on a vote on this deal. And John Boehner is well, he's not going to be able to execute the Hastert rule. What is the Hastert rule? Well, Denny Hastert, the former Speaker of the House, made a rule, informal, which is that he would never bring a vote to the floor unless his full party majority was there with him. Well, guess what? Boehner doesn't have his full Republican majority with him. But in order to survive this whole foreclosure situation, he's got to have a handful of moderate Republicans and Democrats pass what the Senate has passed. The Tea Party folks are livid, but you know what? They've made a point here, and the truth of the matter is that 2014 is going to be the whole story. When Obamacare rolls out, and it's disappointing to a lot of folks, these guys aren't going to look like such dummies or villains, and the whole dynamic of this whole thing will change. So hopefully when we're here tomorrow night, we are breathing a sigh of relief. By the way, in case you wondered what the deal is about, all it does is push the debt ceiling discussion back to February 7th. It opens the government until January 15th. It causes a bicameral conversation on December 13th to report out to the Congress, meaning budget negotiations, and it does ask for verification of income for those who are looking for subsidies on Obamacare. But that's all the Obamacare that got into all of this after all of this shutdown and default threat. You got all that? Pay attention. It's important stuff. Next item on the agenda in Exeter, we had Bob Johnson on the other night, on Friday night. He's one of 4 counselors who have been targeted for recall. Here's the headline in the paper, in the Journal on this. Recall on the agenda. It looks like now that they've checked the signatures, there are more and more valid signatures, and they're probably anywhere from 30 to 60 days away from a recall election. Now, why is that important in a little town like Exeter? Well, because you've got a lot of out-of-town influence here, and we'll examine this as we go. It's about guns. It's really not about town government. It's about guns, and really the whole story is about the town clerk in Exeter, by law, in lieu of not having a police chief, makes decisions on who gets gun permits and who doesn't. And the town council there in Exeter, after Sandy Hook and other things, just decided that they wanted to rid themselves of that responsibility and kick it up to the Attorney General's office, where there's more professionalism in the system. And that's when they got themselves in trouble, and these folks who are looking to recall them want the town clerk to maintain her position with the permits. Well, when they petitioned the General Assembly to actually approve that permitting process to be shifted to the Attorney General's office, the General Assembly never acted on it. So the status of the thing hasn't changed, and there's no reason why people can't decide this in the 2014 local election. Instead, these out-of-towners and some in-town zealots are gunning for 4 Democrats on the council. And I'll remind you what Bob said on Friday night. Mr. Counselor, what's the moral of the story so far?
Well, the moral of the story for us is special interest groups came into Exeter, and they're looking to steal the election of 2012. And our team is going to work hard to protect that election and the votes and the trust that the voters put in us.
So what happens is, if the 4 people who were targeted are recalled by some chance, the 3 people who lost to them end up taking over the office, which is not very constructive. We'll keep paying attention to this. It's crazy, but there's a lot of out-of-town influence in that little country burb of Exeter. Speaking of Sandy Hook, this is a tough story, man. The time has come to take the old building down and put a new building up. This is, I think we have some video of that scene. And of course, here's the headline: Sandy Hook School to be melted down, erasing any trace of killing spree scene. Oh my gosh, just awful. This maniac not only took all those little kids' precious lives, he took the entire soul of that town away, at least temporarily. And he took $43 million of taxpayer money because they voted not to renovate, but to melt the school down completely, leaving not a trace, because they just don't want any memories. $43 million project to replace that school based on that whole situation. High security there because they don't want anybody coming and grabbing souvenirs. Who'd want a souvenir? It's a crazy world. And I should note, footnote, all this time since Sandy Hook, where's the school security measures other than some phantom moves by school boards? None. Nothing's changed. Not a thing. In Louisiana, 2 stores, Walmart stores. This story is crazy, man. EBT cards. The whole electronic system went wild. Was not reporting out the totality of the balance left on people's EBT cards. So rather than saying, hey, I know I only got $73 left on my EBT card, people decided to just buy until they couldn't fit anything more in their carts, until the system came back up and they all went, oops, I can't have all this stuff, and they left it all in the store. There's a human condition here about taking what's, these days people just take what's not theirs. I talked about it on the radio on the Dan Yorke Show, noon to 3 on WPRI, and the phones were ringing off the hook. One woman was talking about, her soul, that one day she found $5,000 in her child support checking account that she didn't think ought to be there, and she explained what happened.
It's like at the moment, in my mind, it wasn't mine. So I wasn't even going to attempt to spend it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't even an option.
Right.
And it was almost like God blessed me later on and said, you know what? You did the right thing. Here you go. Here's your $5 grand. Kind of in a way. But I just wanted to share that because people use this for an excuse and that for an excuse. And there is no excuse for being dishonest. You can't put your own personal choices and decisions and actions on somebody else. You just can't do it.
Well, I was so glad to hear from her and others who have some moral foundation. Turned out the $5,000 she thought didn't belong in her account did, because her deadbeat husband won some lottery somewhere and the state seized a piece of the dough that he owed for child support and put the money in there. It was her money. See, God does work in strange ways. And last night, nail biter. Now, you know I'm a Yankee fan, so I'm only partially invested in this, but there is nothing like a playoff pitching duel. Mike Napoli, boom, catches a piece of Verlander's pitch that frankly wasn't so bad, and that's the whole story. Lackey, Verlander going at it, back and forth. You know, in the middle of July, you know, with your hot dogs and big beers and bringing the kids out, you probably think a 1-0 pitching duel was a waste of your ticket money and a whole lot of fun. But consensus here on the Dan Yorke Show set is very simply that is great baseball. Playoff baseball, great pitchers performing at a high level, there's nothing better. 2-1 Sox, Game 4 in just a little bit. When we come back, a guy who knows a little bit about baseball, he played a little in college at Harvard, I believe. He might have a thought on that. And he's run for treasurer again. Frank Caprio. Stay with us. You know, at the root of all this, just a couple of dumb jocks sitting here on the table. So I got to. I mean, you know, there's no way I can start this without you talking about last night's pitching duel. That was incredible, wasn't it?
One for the ages.
Huh?
In watching a 1-0 Red Sox win, I was trying to remember, when did the Red Sox ever win a big playoff game 1-0? But then they put that graphic up at the end, 1986. There was a 1-0 win.
Don't you think playoff baseball is a little bit better when the pitchers are going at it? I mean, in the middle of July, it's like, but you know, on playoff night, wow.
Every pitch matters.
It does.
The managers, they're going through their machinations. Should they pinch hit? Should they steal? Everything's fair game.
You always think that athletics has actually prepared you well for politics. You make a lot of correlations to your time as an athlete.
For life. The lines that you learn from your coaches along the way, I think every day I'll repeat a number of those one-liners.
Yes.
Whether it was a Little League coach, a college coach, a high school coach, someone in between.
Frank Caprio, by the way, former state treasurer, former candidate for governor, former state representative, former state senator, rather, former, and now looks to repeat the former, which is kind of interesting. But before I even get to that, we've got a debt ceiling deal perhaps as we speak right now. How have you viewed this entire episode in Washington?
Well, we need more cooperation in Washington. And when you're potentially risking everybody's savings accounts and every financial instrument out there is somehow pegged to the U.S. Treasury bonds and notes that are out there. So if the government, United States government, was going to have a default on those payments, the repercussions, they're not even, I think, quantifiable. So the actions that have been taken today, I think, they're being reflected. All the markets are up.
Those that think, walking across this abyss would not be the end of the world, you say?
No, I think it would send the wrong message, both domestically and internationally, that the so-called risk-free investment of the United States Treasury notes and bonds wouldn't be considered risk-free anymore. So I think that the government leaders in Washington, needed to find a solution before that so-called deadline passed tonight.
All right. So the treasurer's pretty good on numbers and stuff. I still call him the treasurer because he was the treasurer. He did run for governor last time around, and had some trouble. He talked about it in his press conference. I'm talking about you to them, but here's you from last week.
I should have handled myself a lot differently in the final weeks of the race in 2010. The good thing about life is you learn from the past and you move on, and I believe I'm a better person and a better candidate because of it.
All right, so that all refers to when you told the president that he could practically shove it or whatever. You gonna be able to shake that?
Yeah, well, obviously it wasn't a good day for me. You learn from your mistakes. That's.
It's not the thing that cost you the election. You already knew that you were in trouble. The polls had showed that you were in trouble.
That's right. That's right.
Right? You had a whole bunch of political capital stocked this high and a pollable lead that everybody thought made you the odds-on favorite to become governor, and it didn't happen. What did you learn?
Well, you learn a lot more when you lose, no matter what the endeavor is, than when the ball bounces your way and you win. What I learned is that you need to work hard every day. You need to surround yourself with good people. You need to take responsibility yourself.
Did you not work hard, and did you not surround yourself with good people last time around?
Well, you can always do better, and you learn from your mistakes along the way. And this race is one that I'm looking forward to for all those reasons. is going to be an opportunity for me to go out to the people of Rhode Island, ask for their support, tell them my vision for the Treasurer's Office. I'm proud of the record that we had in the Treasurer's Office in 2007 to 2011, and I'd like to build on that and make it a leader not only for what's going on here locally, but a leader nationally.
It's strange, though. It's a strange run. It's strange in the sense that you've taken this break, you come back. It's almost as if you want to repair a legacy, because I would think that you're going to be somewhat bored in this. You've done it twice. You've done it well. You were a good. I thought you were a good treasurer. You've done it well.
Thank you.
What am I missing in this? Some people are going, what the hell is he doing this for?
No, that's something that I can answer very directly, and that is that the last time that I was on the campaign trail, I had a vision for the governor's office, and I wasn't able to accomplish that victory and get into office. So I went back into the private sector. I have learned a lot over the last 3 years working in the financial world and seeing what's going on not just locally but around the country. And now I think I come back with that set of experiences and my past public service and political experiences.
Is it because it's in your blood? Is that what it is? It's in the political and leadership thing is in your blood? Because certainly you're a very successful guy and a smart guy, and you can make a lot of money on the side. I mean, in your professional efforts between elections.
You have to love public service and politics to put yourself out there and spend the time, energy, and effort to run a campaign. You know that, and so is it in your blood? I guess for most people that run, it's in their blood. So you can count me in that category.
All right, we'll talk about some of the folks who also have it in their blood, who he may face off against, and what he's saying about the current treasurer when we come back. Stay with us. Back with the former state treasurer, Frank Caprio, who would like to run for office and get your vote to become the state treasurer. Even though he's done 2 terms after a failed gubernatorial stint, he is now back in the hunt for state treasurer. I can't figure out who you're running against. Former Auditor General Ernie Almonte and maybe this guy, Seth Magaziner, who are Democrats who have expressed interest in this race, or Gina Raimondo, based on your opening press conference. What are you doing?
Well, we'll take on all comers. Having been through 10 election cycles, you can't control the other people's campaigns.
Almonte's a smart guy.
The people that you all mentioned, I think a lot of all of them.
This guy Magaziner's a young guy. There's something weird going on with his candidacy. Some kind of Gina Raimondo thing, Clinton thing. I can't figure it out. Have you?
No. I wish everybody that's interested in running the best.
You're not going to bore me on these shows when you come between now and Election Day 2014, and it's just button up and behave yourself. What are you afraid? You think the shove it comment's going to cause me to say, "Oh, well, let's be easy on you, Frank"?
I can run my campaign. The people that you mentioned, they'll all be running their own campaigns, and they can.
Well, let me tell you this: you seem to have taken a little bit of a whack at the treasurer right now. I'm not sure whether you're just doing money analysis or whether you're doing something that's got a political calculus to it. When you talk about hedge fund investments, some of the heat that she has taken for hedge fund investments, and your thought about it. What about those numbers?
Well, first, Treasurer Raimondo and I have worked closely through the years. She served on my transition team when I got elected in 2006. When she was running in 2010, we spoke regularly, and she kept many of the staff people that were in my administration in her administration. So let me just put that out there. But one thing, each treasurer comes in and has their own set of priorities. When I got elected in 2007, one of my priorities was let's have as low a fee structure, meaning let's not give extra money to hedge funds or private equity firms or money managers that we don't necessarily have to spend to run the pension fund. So when I was in office, I was very proud that after a few years there, we had one of the lowest fee structures, meaning we were paying, compared to all the other states, one of the lowest amounts out in fees. So that money stays in the account, just like your own 401k, your own account, or anybody that's watching
She
today.
was mitigating, she's making a mitigating investment. Look, it's a crapshoot in a lot of ways, the financial management of it. I don't have any doubt that you'll be a sound financial manager. You've already proven that, so I don't think you have to prove that to the electorate. What I'm interested, though, is whether or not you think Gina Raimondo has done anything wrong, nefarious, politically motivated, and are you going to continue to hint at that?
Well, the one thing that I would like to see changed, and the treasurer and her team has already put out in a memo to the people on the pension board, is that they're examining what the asset allocation may be going forward, and will they continue investing in hedge funds at the level that they have been doing. The reason why is the dollar amounts are pretty staggering. Currently, the pension fund spends $70 million a year in fees, and we were spending
and you say
about
you're
$20 million.
You're going to be at 20. You're going to go back to those levels? Is that what you think?
Well, I know we can run the fund at that level and perform at a high level.
One thought, real quick. You have this jobs plan that you want to use a current fund for the. It seems like you're almost bored already. You can't be governor. No. You can't be governor. You're running to count the beans. Stay focused.
Let me give you just a short explanation of that. The pension fund already invests hundreds of millions of dollars in money managers that make loans to corporations, businesses, and governments. So what I'm saying is, let's get a very accomplished and successful money manager that makes loans to lower middle market small businesses and have them focus on a geographic region, which is our own. I'm not saying that we do an economic development corporation type of program. This is just following the same practices the pension fund is already
We'll follow your ideas. Just don't get bored.
This is the furthest thing from boring.
And you can't be governor because you missed that one. All right. We'll talk more with Frank Caprio as the season goes on. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and good luck on the new show.
Oh, thanks very much. Your State of Mind when we come back. All right. I did it again. I'm out of time. So we'll go right to your State of Mind, your feedback, your voicemails, your emails, all of that you can, of course, send to us. I promise, right back to you tomorrow night. 228-1886 is the voicemail. Leave it. Leave a voicemail, we'll play it. State of Mind at myRITV.com, or get us on social media. So that's it. That's our State of Mind for this evening. Great to have you in. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks for joining me. 7:30 at myRITV. Bye.